So, lots of different varieties of plastic surgery. Plastic surgery gets hyped up and talked about a lot in the media. This has been the case whether it has been on social media or it's been part of, say, the general media complex. I guess over 30 years, like there's been this public kind of fascination with plastic surgery. People that get tons of plastic surgery, people like Michael Jackson who have like 9 or 10 rhinoplasties or things like that. And I always find that a very interesting phenomenon because on the one side, people want to look their best, and the surgical option seems to be one that a lot of people are willing to do. There's been shows like Extreme Makeover Personal Edition or something, like Extreme Makeover, where people get plastic surgery to like change their looks and stuff. This was a network show, I guess probably 20 years ago at this point. I haven't watched TV in so long, it's hard to say. But I think that turned a lot of people on to this idea of plastic surgery. So there's that on one side, kind of a people wanting to be, I guess, better looking than whatever their state happens to be. And then there's the fascination of people who like have maybe some sort of body dysmorphia, like Michael Jackson, where you just look in the mirror and you never see the image that you want to see. And so you go to different kinds of surgical solutions to try to produce whatever it is in your mind that you're imagining yourself to be. Now, I want to talk about this because there's something that is kind of fundamentally true about our world. We live in a material world where looks matter. And so there is a threshold where trying to improve your looks crosses over a line and stops being about your looks per se and what you're going to get from them. In other words, like your interpersonal relationships with people, and starts to be about vanity, pursuing an image that is, people wanting to look at you and be envious of you or look at you and desire you. That starts to cross into a realm of vanity. And there was a great comment on a video I made. I actually did it as part of the live stream, I guess last week, on steroids and bodybuilders dying, right? And the comment was like, I was very tempted to use these substances. Of course, I'm not talking, these are not plastic surgery, but to me, they're in the same kind of category. This is altering your body using some sort of intervention that's not natural. But it's vain, and I'm glad that my Catholic faith informed me to not pursue that vanity. But I want to provide a little bit of the other side here. This is not a theological argument of any kind, but rather just a practical argument. We live in a material world. Your looks really matter. So if you have an ability or an option to improve your looks, that is something that you should consider because it will improve almost every aspect of your life in the material world. That is, people will treat you better. It can improve your business. It can improve, say, your dating prospects and things like that. I think there's a threshold where you cross over and it's possibly harmful or, is about vanity and pursuing some sort of interest beyond something more material and transactional. Now, I'm going to give you an example because I have had my own kind of cosmetic surgery, and it's these teeth right here. So I have veneers on the top of my teeth. Now, I got these probably 10 years ago, I think, and so they've lasted a while. I do have one that's kind of broken on one side, but it broke immediately and they put a new one on, and then this one broke like a couple years later because it just slightly didn't fit on the tooth correctly. Now, why did I get veneers? Is it pure vanity? Well, not exactly. And so there's different categories of why people might pursue medical interventions to change their looks. So one of them is that there's something that has happened to you which has altered your normal, what would be your normal good looks, and plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery, in this case cosmetic dentistry, is rectifying that. So if you suffer a burn, for instance, if you're in a house fire and something falls on you and it burns you and you have a burn scar, I don't think there's anything wrong with going to a cosmetic surgeon to have that fixed, or to fix something that, if you get your nose broken and now your nose does not look like it would normally have looked, had you never had your nose broken. I don't think there's anything wrong with pursuing rhinoplasty in a situation like that. And I think most people would agree with that. Well, you're trying to repair what was naturally there, or a woman who has a mastectomy and then has breast augmentation surgery. She's trying to restore the appearance and the feeling or whatever of her body as it was before she was afflicted with a disease. So most people would say that this is not purely a pursuit of vanity. Rather, you're trying to get to what you originally were. Now, in the case of my teeth, I had a few bad experiences with orthodontics when I was a kid. Now, I didn't know anything because I was a kid and I was, 13 or whatever. And my parents didn't know anything because there was no internet. I mean, the internet was like in its infancy. You couldn't do your own research about this kind of stuff or get feedback from other people. They put braces on my teeth, and the braces actually ruined my bite and eventually ruined my teeth and my smile. And I'll explain how this happened. So they put braces on my teeth. I had a normal bite, right? Turns out I had what was just a completely normal bite. My teeth were straight at the age of 13. But an orthodontist sold my dad on the fact that I needed to have my teeth straightened or I needed to have braces put on. So braces got put on, and they were on for 4 years. So I had 4 years worth of braces to correct teeth that were already straight. And if you look at I can find a picture of my dad somewhere. He had straight teeth with no braces. So I had straight teeth, especially on the top, no braces, right? My teeth were straight. So I had 4 years of braces to straighten my teeth. And at the end of it, my front teeth were just like this. I couldn't close and have a normal bite. The normal kind of mewing bite where your tongue is in a normal position. So my teeth looked straight, but I couldn't close my mouth. I had like an underbite like this, And so I went to a different dentist, changed everything up. He's like, no, your bite's completely messed up. You have to stop wearing your retainers, let your teeth spread out so you can actually close your mouth, because you're just going to break your teeth that way. Teeth are not meant to go together on the front like this. They're meant to go together a certain way, the way that is natural for teeth to go together, and the way that they go together virtually on all animals. Even warthogs, the teeth go over the front, right? The teeth fit together correctly, and the molars fit together. I couldn't touch the molars together, which means I couldn't really chew my food correctly. Think about that for those braces. So what happened because of that was I ended up with a big gap in the front of my teeth, which I didn't have and wouldn't have naturally had. And my teeth got very flaked and cracked away and broken because they were mashed together in such a way. And I also happened to grind my teeth that I didn't know about. So years later, I had the money. It was a lot of money. I don't even want to really say how much. And the dentist gave me a deal so he could take before and afters to sell this cosmetic dentistry to other people. I got veneers put on to fix what was already broken with my teeth, right? It really wasn't my choice. I had no say in the matter. This was, to me, repairing what was normal and natural. Now, this is a cosmetic procedure. Do I think it was worth it? And I want to say it was in the neighborhood of it's definitely north of like $5,000 to get it done. Okay. So a lot of money, but this was something that bothered me for a long time. The number one compliment I get from women over the last, did I have it done 10 years ago? Over the last 10 years, for sure. Number one compliment I've gotten from women. Now, I've been married for a while, so my wife will definitely say this. It is my smile. So was it worth it for me to have the teeth fixed, considering every person says they like my smile? Yeah, totally. It was worth it. It gave me unbelievable advantages as far as getting people to like me. And if you're attractive, people will like you. First impressions matter. The more attractive you are, the more people will like you. Sorry, we live in a world where that's reality. So it was absolutely worth it in that sense to get it fixed, because that's the number one compliment I've gotten. Number two is my hair. Okay, my long, beautiful hair, or when I had shorter hair and it still looked really good. I've had good hair. Now I do have, kind of a high hairline, but that happens when you get older, guys. It's just how it is. I've always had a big forehead, and then I've got a slightly bigger forehead now. That's just how things are when you get older. So that's the number two, was the hair. The number three thing really is my body, but that's something that I want to point out. The number one thing that most people can do to improve their appearance physically their actual body versus like changing their clothes or something like that. Number one thing that they can do is lose weight. So if you have high body fat, you can lose weight. That doesn't require any kind of cosmetic alteration, doesn't require surgeon, doesn't require any kind of input other than you, yourself, choosing to go on a diet and improve your exercise routine, and you'll lose weight and be more attractive. People will like you more. People like thin people more than fat people in first impressions, at least. Does that mean people who are overweight are bad? They're less likable? No, nothing like that. But you have to get past that barrier. There's a barrier to entry whenever you're entering a relationship, a business relationship, a romantic relationship. The barrier to entry is, the first one is physical. Do you look like an honest, presentable, and attractive person? If the answer is yes, you pass that first gate easily, then that person can get to know you. So yes, you want a woman who's, so if you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You want your partner to love you, love the things about you that are virtuous, not just your body arrangement. But in order for that to happen, you have to be attractive enough that they want to be in a romantic relationship with you. So yeah, it's worth it. So the number one thing you can do is lose weight. Now, to broader plastic surgery. Can you justify something like breast augmentation just because? I actually think you can, but it depends on your profession. So I had a friend back in Las Vegas, and she had breast augmentation surgery. She was a person who did this thing called table service at these clubs, which is basically you sit at the table and like you pour drinks for men and keep them company and just look attractive. So does that breast augmentation, does that give her an advantage in her profession at the time? Absolutely it did. So absolutely it was worth it for her to do it. Now, as far as a moral justification, that's a little more gray. But certainly it is going to give you an advantage in your business, just as if you had good equipment with some other kind of business is going to give you an advantage. So there's that. Celebrities whose job it is to look really good or look very unique or be interesting in the age of social media, for them to get plastic surgery, you can almost justify it because that's their job. Their job is to look attractive. And just like their job is to look attractive, I think, you can also justify not just like hiring a personal trainer, but possibly using, let's say, performance-enhancing drugs, some sort of drug regimen in order to get your body primed. If you get the offer to do a superhero movie, but you have to have a bodybuilder physique, well, yeah, it'll have health consequences, but it's probably worth it to get on the sauce. It's probably worth it to gear up and get on a good stack of drugs and get shredded and huge, at least for that movie, and then you can do a post-cycle therapy or something and minimize those health effects of putting all of those substances in your body. But for them, it's worth it because there's a payout at the end. You're going to get paid millions of dollars to do that to your body, just like how a boxer gets paid hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to have somebody physically beat him up and harm his body. So fighters go in the ring and they get their bodies pounded out of them. They're damaging their bodies by being in the ring. People get, like Muhammad Ali ended up with Parkinson's disease from having his too many head injuries and things like that. You can have very serious physical consequences from being in the ring. So if it's not okay for a celebrity to have something done to their body that maybe harms them for money, then it's certainly not okay for boxing. Boxing should not exist, and football shouldn't exist. And really, professional sports shouldn't exist because you're emphasizing people to do things that are going to be over the long term harmful to their bodies in order to peak their performance now with performance enhancing substances, training regimens, risky training and things like that. So you can take that concept really far. The point is that people get some sort of transactional advantage for having plastic surgery. That's kind of a justification for having it. Doesn't mean you should get it, because I think there's always the point where you have to look at it and it's like, am I doing this because it's part of my business, or because I just want to be more attractive and feel more attractive and gain more female attention and things like that? Because I think there's a limit. And of course, I don't think there's anything wrong with losing weight for vain reasons, to look better. You want to look as good as you can, but it'll also improve your health. So you're not being vain if you go on a diet to get leaner. You are improving your health by doing it, and you're also going to get worldly advantages. And I personally, this is not a theological argument, but I personally don't think it's wrong to pursue worldly advantages. I think where the threshold gets crossed is when you are, you're basically doing direct harm to your body to gain attention and things. Like you do a weird, like the people who do crazy surgeries, they look like cat people and stuff in order to gain attention to themselves. At that point, you're hurting your body, really making a mockery of your own body, the body that God gave you, in order to gain attention. It's not even like a sort of a direct payout or a reward there that you get for doing things like that. So there's the kind of the whole spectrum. People who get cosmetic surgery to repair something that has been done to them, most people would have no moral issue with that. It gets a little more gray when it's like you have some sort of plastic surgery because it gives you an advantage. And then there's that far category where you see that somebody's doing it basically because of like a mental illness. Like Michael Jackson may have had 9 or 10 rhinoplasties in order to continue altering his nose into what he imagined it should be, as well as maybe jaw surgeries and things like that. He may have had body dysmorphic disorder, like some sort of significant psychological trauma from his hard life growing up that affected him in a way that he felt like he could never look correct without lots of different kinds of surgery. So that's the third one where people are really, being rather bizarre. There's no virtue in gaining attention by having somebody alter your face, right? There's no virtue to that. It would be more like you need to look genuinely attractive. I'm sure William Shatner has had hair plugs, for instance. That's a very, very common cosmetic surgery. Lots of men get it because they start to get really, weird about, oh, my hairline's a little bit further back now than it used to be. And, people are I'm really insecure about it. So they have hair transplanted from the back up front to kind of fill that in. It's surgery, it's surgery to do it. That's really common. William Shatner, whether he had a toupee or he had hair plugs or something done, it was probably worth it because he's an actor in Hollywood. And that maintained his original looks. He's not altering his body to look better. Rather, he's kind of trying to maintain the way he looked in order to continue working and being himself. And I don't know, I think you can make an argument either way there. I don't think Christopher Lee, for instance, really had any cosmetic surgery, but he was Christopher Lee and could simply command the screen no matter how old he was and how wrinkly he happened to be. He was a very imposing presence. Anyway, so that's that. Cosmetic surgery. That's something that can be debated in a lot of different ways. Point I want to make here is that you got to think about what reason you're doing it. Are you doing it because you just feel insecure about your nose? Well, then you can come out about it. I've always disliked my nose and I've just wanted to have a better looking nose. And I think people will like me better if I have a nose. Just be honest about it and then I'll make it a little bit more clear. Or if you've been, if you had your nose broken at some point. Like my aunt had rhinoplasty because as a little girl, she put a bean up her nose and she didn't know it. She was like 2. And it caused her nose to grow in a weird way. It grew around this bean. And so when they removed it, they also did a rhinoplasty to restore the way her nose would have looked had she never put a bean up it when she was 2. So that's my whole spiel about that. Let me know what you guys think, of course, and I'll go ahead and hop into chat and we'll get some gaming done. Thank you guys for joining me on Saturday. Okay, so some super chats.